Everyone, welcome to this week's episode of Show Me How It's Done. My name is Laura Narbonis, and I'm a Canadian Stampin' Up! Independent demonstrator here in Canada. So I hope that you're ready to follow along with me today. I have some really fun projects to show you, and by projects I mean just one today. And I have some more coming up next week and every Tuesday after that at noon. So here we go. This project is based on the On the Farm bundle. I played with it 2 weeks ago, but I just was having so much fun. I had to keep going. So if you missed that video, go back 2 Tuesdays on my channel here and you'll find a really fun fold card featuring this bundle. So On the Farm is a stamp set and die bundle that came out in our January to April mini catalog. So this guy will be available for a little while still. However, the paper that I'm using in coordination with the project is from our Celebration brochure. So Celebration is the time of year where Stampin' Up! Offers you free products for every $60 or $120 that you spend. Again, I'm in Canada, so my numbers might be different than your market, so just ask your demonstrator if you're not sure. But this paper is available while supplies last until February 28th, and you can actually earn it for free. You can't purchase it, but it's a free add-on, so if you bought this bundle per se, or even something else that totaled over $60 before tax, then you can pick this really adorable package of paper for free. Now, the thing that I love about the paper is, do you see all these little critters here? They can be stamped and die cut with the bundle here, or you can use the dies from this bundle and you can actually cut your animals out of some of our pieces of paper. So of course this used to, once upon a time, be a full 12 by 12 sheet. And then just a little hint that when you're running this through your cut and emboss machine, it will only fit about 6 inches of space. So often people would just cut this in half at 6, but you will cut a lot of your animals that way. So I like to just take my scissors and kind of just give myself 3 sections of these 12 by 12 papers. So I'm kind of going around a lot of my little critters here, but in doing so, I'm making sure that I'm getting the most out of my paper as possible. And don't throw this out after you've cut the big animals. There are dies as well for the leaves and the flowers. You'll notice that the leaves do go in 2 different directions on your paper. So unfortunately, there is just one die that does the leaf that's kind of tilting to the right. There's not a die for the one tilting to the left, but that's okay. You can still get quite a few of these little leaves out of your project, and I'm going to show you just a little way that I tuck them into the back of this one here. So this is what I would do if I was ready to cut this on my machine. I would, of course, probably have 3 different dies ready to go, and then I can cut those out. So I've done that already, just so you don't have to watch me do it, but I will prove to you on screen. Let's open this up, and that it does fit right over top like that. If you have a little bit of post-it tape, you can always lock these in place so they don't shift on you, and then you'll end up with a really cute little cow or pig or sheep to use on your project. All right, so let's get crafting. I'm going to give you all these measurements, but of course they are listed as well in my description, so you can always come back and do this later too. So I'm starting with a piece of garden green cardstock. Usually our cardstock is 5.5 by 8.5, but this time I wanted a teeny tiny little green border, which kind of balanced out a bit. So my piece is 5.5 by 8. Okay, and then you're putting a score mark at 4. A tickle in my throat. I'd have to grab a lozenge. Always when I start talking, of course. Okay, now on the inside of my card, I always like to have something to write on. So I have a piece of basic white. This is going to be 3 3/4 by 5 1/4. And I'm putting that on with, for me, double-sided tape because I love that stuff, or you can use seal or glue. Now, I decided today I did want to do a little stamping on the inside here. I could have chosen any number of these stamps. These hills would have looked adorable, a little barn, an animal, but I'm just going to go with this little cluster of trees, and I'm stamping that in garden green so that it matches my cardstock. Just a little something down in the bottom corner. Okay, now I'm going to close this up and move it to the side just for a few minutes because I want to concentrate on this piece here, which is crushed curry. I have cut this one at 3 3/4 by 5 1/4 as well. And then I'm going to start decorating it with a little bit of designer series paper. So the fun part about this is it's a really great card for you to do after you've finished other cards, because you often end up with these random pieces like this left over from your projects. And so instead of wasting them, you can actually use them on a card like this. I kind of call it a little patchwork card, if you will. And so that's what I'm going to do. I picked 2 of my little scraps here, and they can be either the same pattern, you can use both sides, or you can choose 2 different patterns from the package as well. So these 2 are 1 inch by 1 3/4, and you'll need 2 of them. Don't glue them in, but just gently place them where you think you're going to put them. And then from there, you might have pieces large enough to fill in the blanks. You'll notice this cow piece, for instance, is different than my chickens because I'm trying to use up my scraps. Instead of chopping up a whole nother 12 by 12 piece, I have finished a bunch of cards and I'm using the leftovers for these kind of projects. So this one I just subbed out right here. You can see that difference. I could have chosen to use the other side too. So here we go. These 2 pieces, you're going to have the same measurements, and again, they can be the same piece and you use one or the other side, or you can use the same pattern. It doesn't matter. So these are 1 3/4 by 4. Okay, and so we're going to put those kind of roughly where you'll want them. And you can see it already changes my card a little bit, not to have that blue in there. But I'm okay with that. It will give me kind of an earthier feeling. So now you get to just sit here and shuffle these pieces around for a minute. Make sure you're kind of happy with where they're sitting. And then I always like to start just with 1 piece at a time, taking it out of position and putting the adhesive on the back. I'm going to just start with this tiny little guy. And again, glue will work fantastic because then you can kind of shift it if you've made a mistake. Or if you want to be daring, go ahead and use the tape or seal. Okay, so again, just kind of getting that guy back into place as much as possible. Taking the next piece out, doing the same, sorry. Out of your view, here we go. I'm just doing tape for me. Living on the edge here. Oh, don't do that. Okay, well, I moved things, but hopefully still salvageable. There we go. This guy next. I love that basically any pattern in this package could be used for this kind of a card. They're all gonna go quite nicely, and I just picked the color bases that I thought kind of showed up in most of the papers. Another combination would have been using this really beautiful cherry cobbler with the garden green, but I thought the yellow kind of reminds me of like a John Deere tractor, which is very farmish, so that's why I went with that. All right, here's my background. Now to put this onto my card base, I would like some dimensionals because I want this to kind of pop out and give me a little bit of fun focus. So I'm going to put dimensionals all over the back of that. And just keep in mind, you guys, you have these whole perimeters when you're doing your mini dimensionals that you can chop with your scissors and use in place of some of those large ones. These are good when you're doing a background piece like this, because you do want something that gives you a lot of stability. I even throw a couple in the middle section here too. So those big pieces are really good. You don't ever want to throw that out once you've used these little ones up. So much potential. Right. And here we go. There's my basic card, and now I want to decorate it. So the easiest little die set that I can recommend to you guys to own is our Stylish Shapes dies. It comes with stitched circles in different sizes, squares, and banners, all in one die set, and it's one of my favorites just because I like the circles for sure. I am a little probably weaker at using the squares, but they still come in handy. So anyways, this is the second largest of my circles. And before I attach it to the card, I am going to put a little sentiment here. So I figured I wanted to use something from the stamp set. And because I chose such large animals to feature on the decal, I couldn't really use one of these guys. If I wanted to, my thought was you could probably use something like the sheep and then put one of these sentiments right beside him and maybe stamp a little bit of grass underneath or a hill or something, but you could probably only use one animal if you used the other two. So I've got From All of Us, and that's going to work because, you know, I have children and a husband, so if I send this to someone, I don't have to sign all of our names. So here we go. From All of Us. I'm stamping that just in the bottom section of my circle. And then I have mentioned before, I've pre-cut the pieces I want to use. So I have a little cow for myself. I have the pig and her piglet. I have a little flower, and I cut one of those little branches. The die, I was a little confused at first because I was like, oh, it's a feather. Like, where's the feather stamp? But there wasn't one. And I realized it was for this little branch. So I'm going to start with my cow because that's going to be the busiest piece that I need to kind of work around. So I'm going to put dimensionals all on the back of her and plop her onto my card, or onto my little decal here. So she's got dimensionals all over. Oh, thanks, Kathy. I'm so glad you like the card. All right, and I'm putting her just right up at the top of my project, okay? So her little rump is almost kind of touching the stitching here. Now, this looks adorable, and I could probably leave it like this, but I thought, hey, I have this pig. I want to use it too. And so I'm going to pop her up kind of like over top of my cow, I guess. So it's your choice. You can have her on the same level as the cow, and you'll put dimensionals kind of between the cow's legs. Or if you want to pop her up in front of the cow, then you can probably just put a dimensional on top of the two leg junctures, and she will be a little pushed out from the card. So I'm going to do that and try and pop her in so I'm happy. And I'm going to show you the way that I like to cheat sometimes because I don't really love this little hoof peeking through, but nobody's going to know that I'm just going to come in and chop that hoof off. so that it's not peeking out of my little pig. And that's just my little maybe OCD, because I couldn't shift the pig enough to cover it. So if you're like me, don't be afraid to chop something off, and it'll be fun. Okay, and then the last two pieces, I have my little branch, and I thought, hey, I'll just tuck these in for decor. So I'm putting just the tiniest dot of glue on the very bottom, my little leaf, so that when I tuck that in here, it will be attached, kind of hiding behind piggies. And then your little flower, you can either pop up on another dimensional if you want, or you can put flat. I think I'm going to pop it. This one I did flat, and it's cute. But let's see what this looks like. Okay, so dimensional line there. Oop. Cover that dimensional without covering the letter F. There we go. Yeah, so there we go. Either way, it'll be great. So then we're going to turn this over and put more dimensionals on the back of this piece. Go. And then the cow can go on your card anywhere. It could go up in the top, could go in the middle. It will look very even no matter where you put it, because you've got the different proportions of your cards, kind of two matching sections. So go ahead and do in the top, in the middle, or at the bottom. It's completely up to you. So I think this one, I don't know, should I be daring? I'm going to do this, I think, to make it the same. And then I promise you, I will do another patchwork card at some point, because I want to use some of our really beautiful favored flowers paper. And I will show you the difference. I'll do that as a centerpiece. So yeah, there you go. Easy peasy, really, because you've probably got these scraps lying around, and all you need to do is just trim them down or dig them out of your recycling, because you might have thrown them out. But this is just one more card that I can encourage you to use those scraps for, and not be afraid to have them left over. You don't need to have everything cut perfectly. Use what you want from the main focus of a paper, and then use some of these scraps to make something like this. And if you have done something like this, please throw it in the comments on the video. Other people would love to see your projects. And thank you guys so much for joining me. If you enjoyed today's video, I would really appreciate if you liked and subscribed to my channel. And I look forward to seeing you guys again next week for another edition of Show Me How It's Done. Bye.